broadcasting to everybody. Welcome everybody to episode 209 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your host, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Russell, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you today?
I'm in mourning, but I'll get over it.
What are you in mourning over?
I feel like we're going to lose LeBron and Luka.
Really?
I don't know. It's the end of the world in Lakerland at the moment. No, Rob Pelinka apparently had dinner with Luka. Everything's going to be fine. I don't know. It just felt a season ended prematurely in my eyes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I can't imagine Luka walking away, but I did see that, I suppose, fake news, fake tweet, conspiracy theory about LeBron going to Dallas with Kyrie and AD.
Oh,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's also the he'll try and go to Cleveland to finish. Cleveland.
He's not going back to Cleveland, is he?
You just ride the bench, get a chip for him.
Does Cleveland, would they want him?
If LeBron signs in Cleveland, do they go above the Celtics as far as the roster?
I don't know. Maybe if he signed for the minimum, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, vet min.
Like, even Ben Simmons is good on the minimum.
Well, he's out as well now, so.
Anyway, hello to everyone at home. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Hello to our friends on the live feed, and then also hello to our friends at Central Coast Radio. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Yes.
Hope you're well. I think we should get straight into some content ad.
Let's do it.
And once I read this story, I put it straight to the top of the sheet. This is something that's quite dear to my heart. So this was broken from Shams, however you pronounce it. This is the end of an era as Greg Popovich, 76, has served as Spurs coach since 1996. And the start of another. Popovich has already been involved throughout the Spurs offseason in president role and will continue to be a vital member of the operations, sources said. So I think we just say congratulations to him. Like, what an amazing career. I think what a fantastic role model. And he built and created an organization now other organizations look up to. I think, they've set the standard in terms of recruiting, training, sending other coaches out, developing their own talent inside the organization and then setting them out for, other jobs, promoting them outwards. Upwards and outwards is the right term, isn't it? And I think their success has been amazing too. Like, I mean, look, there's some luck involved in it. I think getting David Robinson, Tim Duncan was an easy pick to make, but Manu Ginobili in the second round was amazing. Kawhi Leonard in that 13, 14 range, whatever he went to. And then what was Tony Parker, 35th or 30th in the draft? Like, just fantastic drafting and putting talent into their team too. Like, they've got just countless players that have come in and contributed to that team. Like the gamble they took on Steven Jackson, I think you have to give a lot of flowers for Popovich in this type of instance. So I've got a lot of love and respect for the Spurs, and same as Pop too. I think I'll put him onto a bucket list of mine that I'd love, people that I'd like to meet. I'm sure he'd roast me. But at the same time, I do also like it too, as he mellowed over the years and sort of became a bit funnier. Like, instead of just being rude to the media, he was just being like funny with them. I enjoyed that version of Pop a lot more.
Yeah, that's it. He sort of softened and it wasn't as brutal, I guess.
So I think we can't talk about Pop without talking about cards. So he's a really funny one in that he has some cards, but he doesn't have a lot of them. And autographs for Pop are like super rare. So they do come up on eBay every now and again, but they're not often cards. Sometimes they'll be business cards.
Yep.
Sometimes they'll be not a napkin, but just a small piece of paper.
Imagine getting a ticket to a Spurs game signed by Greg Popovich. That would be awesome.
Can I be honest with you? I can't imagine he's the type of guy, like we just spoke about before, how he was a bit sort of, rude is probably not the right word, but a little bit sort of ornery around people. I think that he
wouldn't be the most approachable guy.
He wouldn't be signing autographs, for hours, or he's not signing with Panini. Let's put it that way. To sign 15,000 stickers onto a sheet. So you can find them on eBay. They do come up every now and then. Sometimes there'll be certified pictures by PSA.
Yep.
Sometimes there'll be cards that have been sent in for
Well,
authentication.
maybe now that he's not coaching, he might sign some more autos.
I don't think so.
No? President? No. What is he going to be? President of basketball? Team president.
Look, I think this is a very niche thing to collect, but in saying that, I think people at the top of their game are collectible, and I think what he did for the Spurs in terms of coaching, and then he's already been doing team management and general manager roles anyway for years. So I think that's a little bit of a, like, they're giving him a title.
Yeah.
They'll give him anything he wants until he dies, I'd imagine, honestly, like what he's done for that organization. But
agreed.
Like where I'm going with this is I think these are going to be worth, thousands or millions of dollars in the future? I don't. But at the same time, I do think there's going to be some very strong collectability there. Yeah. At the moment, like, for example, this is just going off eBay sales. Spurs vintage picture of him, which has been PSA authenticated. That sold for $99. There's another card here from BGS that sold for $81 with a signature on it. There's a photo of him for $76 with the authentication from PSA. So, look, I actually think these are really good value. I also think in terms of, we talk about population, like there's just not that many of them out there.
Yeah.
So moving on to cards, it's the same thing. There's not a lot of cards out there. There's some hoops. There's some Prism stuff. There's some Tops cards on here. Look, these aren't selling for a lot of money. A PSA 9 Tops is selling for $40. There's a PSA 10 Blue, number to 175 for $71. There is a purple to number to 75 for $149. That's PSA 10.
Yeah.
Even the silvers though are selling for about $10 each. So that for me is a really interesting one because a couple of years back they were selling for 50 cents a dollar. So if you stocked up on these and you're flipping them out now for $10, that's fantastic for you. But I got to be honest with you, the few that I do have of Pop, I'm keeping them, honestly.
Yeah.
I just think that the silvers you'll be able to replace, the numbers you'll be able to replace, the hoops you'll be able to replace. But I think anything that you have an autograph on, anything graded, honestly, I just think you hang on to it. And
yeah.
PC. Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about that? Oh, actually, there is something else. They've already named a replacement coach. This is something I've been thinking about a lot. My hunch or my guess was Becky Hammon. I thought that
I really thought it was going to naturally,
I thought she'd come back to the Spurs. It would be one of those sort of legacy hires where it's the first female head coach to come in, and her speech to him at his Hall of Fame enshrinement was just amazing, honestly. And she really got to him. I've never seen him cry before like that. It was actually like an amazing speech.
Yeah.
They've gone in a different direction. They've gone to Mitch Johnson. I don't know a lot about this guy. I know he's been coaching them this year already.
Yeah.
I could just imagine this is an internal.
Do you reckon it's an interim measure?
No, I think this is it. I suspect that they've been grooming this guy for a while, developing him, mentoring him, the whole thing. That's the whole Spurs ethos for me.
But that's the thing. He's been waiting in the wings, waiting his turn, right? That's what they do. That's what the Spurs system is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To recruit.
And they've had some amazing coaches, like Coach Bud was with them. Brett Brown was them. Heaps of coaches have come through there and gone on to bigger and better things. Mm. So I'm just trying to find how long he's been with them for.
It'll be a while.
For 9 seasons.
Okay. Well, he's done his time then.
Yeah. So 4 seasons with the G League, 5 seasons with the Spurs, and now being promoted to head coach. So that's just wonderful, honestly.
So I love these. And he's literally,
I love these stories.
Product. Do you reckon he'll go 29 seasons like Pop, or?
No way. If he lasts 5 seasons, I think that would be a fantastic outcome.
That's
honestly.
it. Yeah, but they will they won't jump ship on him. I don't think very quickly. I think.
I couldn't imagine that's going to be the case, but I could also imagine him moving on to a different challenge. I think that's probably where I was going to. Yeah. All right. So last week we did mailbag, and actually I missed a couple. So part of that is the way that I post things up to different pages using the the business page that we've got, and I've obviously clicked a button and then not realized it. So I'm very sorry, Carl and Stephen. We missed out your 2 questions, but it's never too late to do a bit of a mailbag question.
Never too late to circle back to the mailbag.
I think we should say too to Carl Morey, thank you so much for all your support over the years. You've been also promoting our content regularly onto your pages, so thank you so much. And the boys from New Zealand are due to come back onto the show, Ad. What do you think about that?
I think that's well and truly overdue.
Yeah. So come on, lads. Let's get a time together.
Let's organise something, hey?
Yeah. Who are the underrated players that could go in a big playoff run? This is a fun question, actually.
I think one of them already has started.
Yep.
And that is Anthony Edwards.
Okay. All right. You
He
think Anthony
is
Edwards?
the real deal. After
Yep.
watching that series, that Minnesota LA series, Ant is the guy. Yeah. I think Ant. What about...
I'm discounting what you're saying just a tiny bit because I think the reason why you feel this way is because they've knocked out your beloved Lakers.
Well, he's also shown that he is the guy by knocking out my beloved Lakers, who were the higher seed and favoured, might I add.
It's actually possible I'm in the minority here. I appreciate Anthony Edwards and I think he's a good prospect, but that's as far as I'm going. Like, I'm
Really?
not, yeah, honestly, like, I think, so go back to shooting guards who have been good scorers, but don't mean that much to the hobby. Like, there's so many examples. So, okay, for me, for example, Clyde Drexler.
Okay.
Would you rather have a Clyde Drexler card or would you rather have an Anthony Edwards? I think he's really hot at the moment because everyone's seeing him and he talks a whole lot of, nonsense. We'd make jokes about this last week about him talking about his rooster to the fans. Like, that's fine, but that's not a lot of substance to that either, Like, he's an athletic 2 guy. Like, there's a lot of these guys out there. And so I think I'm just sort of holding my powder, I think,
Okay.
until I see a little bit more from him.
I have a feeling you might see a little bit more. I have a feeling. This might
And
be
if I'm
his
wrong,
run.
I'm so happy to be wrong. That's the other thing too. I don't mean it in a malicious way. Funnily, I was talking to a random kinder dad on the weekend at the playground, and he was waxing lyrical about Edwards too. So I'm actually beginning to think more and more I'm actually in the minority on this. I'm just like, I'm not that impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Look, I like you can have the difference of opinion. I think that's welcome. But I do think last year he had unfinished business, and this year he's he's playing with that chip on his shoulder. You can see it. But anyway,
Silver PSA 10 Anthony Edwards, population on this is 2,116, last sold for 912. If you look at the 3-month trajectory on this is up 21%. Let's go back to 6 months. It's up 5%. So it was trading in the 900s December 24. If we go back 1 year, it's actually down 22%. So
yeah, because this is like this time last year he was announcing himself to the world.
In June 24, this was trading for nearly 1,800. So look, I think that the market has changed a lot in the last 12 months. And, I actually think we can do a segment on this ad. Say, if we're looking at the all-time graphs and we're looking at COVID, let's just say that COVID was the time to sell. Now we're post-COVID. Is there an argument to be made? Actually, it's the time to buy.
Now is the time to buy.
Yeah. So looking at this card. So for example, take this card as an example. So let's go to the all-time on this. So the all-time high on this, it sold for $1,500 at a point. It sold for $2,000 at a point. Obviously, we're up on an uptick at the moment, but we just spoke about the decrease even in the last 12 months that it's had. If you're confident about this guy, is this a card that, now is a good time to purchase? Like with all the things that's happening in the world at the moment economically, buy it now and put it away for 10 years. I think you really have to believe in someone to spend that type of money though.
I agree.
I don't think that strategy has zero risk, particularly with the population on it. But at the same time, if you're going to make that argument to me, I wouldn't say it's a silly idea. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But
Anyway.
we'll see how he goes in the playoffs.
So I think we can actually move the spreadsheet around a little bit. We can segue into this just absolutely seamlessly. So This is a card ladder comp. Anthony Edwards, 1 of 1 flawless Logoman, sold for 426,000, versus a Luka Doncic gold prism number to 10, which sold for 341,000. So obviously this is the Lakers versus Wolves first round matchup that we're comping here, but also it slides into Carl's question perfectly and our whole conversation around the Anthony Edwards part.
Well, Luka's not going to make a crazy playoff run because he's no longer in the playoffs. But Anthony Edwards, whoa.
I think playing with LeBron James in Los Angeles is not an easy task. And I loved what Luka did. And I don't think he played badly, but I also don't think he played to the top of his capability. So
well,
I'm still
the roster wasn't constructed for their... Yeah, agreed.
I think putting Luka with LeBron is having two very ball-dominant players together. And I actually thought they worked it out pretty well. So I think what I'm trying to say is it's still very promising, Luka's future in Los Angeles. I'm not too sweaty about what just happened.
I'm not stressed, yeah. I'm not mad.
Okay, so for me, this is just ridiculous. For me, the obvious one here is the Anthony Edwards at 426. It's like comparing a Lamborghini to a Toyota. Like, Prism is an entry level.
Wow.
Prism is an entry level set.
Yeah. Okay.
The pull of Prism is that you could go down to your local Target or Walmart, spend $20, and you could get a number to 25 green pulsar or whatever it was that came out of them, or you could get a silver prism that you could send off to PSA and then bring it back and sell it for 800, 900 USD, right?
Hey guys,
like let's be honest about what prism is.
Sure, but if it was the black 1 of 1, which is because we're comparing 1 of 1 to a number to 10, right? If we get the prism 1 of 1, I guarantee you that card's going for 1.5 million.
Look, I probably think that this has gone, in my opinion, this gold to 10 is a little bit high.
Yeah, it's in February 2025. It's a week after it's 2 weeks after the Luka Doncic trade.
And this is 3 years ago that the Flawless sold for. So this is a bit of a tricky comp. But what I'm trying to say is I just think, like for me, Flawless is a little bit of like hallowed turf. Like it's just such a special...
I agree with a game worn... right? Yeah, you should be comparing... If you're going to Flawless, get an NT
right
card out, right?
Yeah. Okay. That would be a better comp, absolutely.
For sure.
The really funny thing was, I actually went into was it NT or Flawless break? Anyway, let's not let the truth get in the way of the story. So what they did was, no, I didn't buy in the end. That's right. Anyway, so Brian Forsman ran this break where everyone bought into it.
Yeah.
And you paid I think he did it so that you paid equal parts. All of the cards were then sold off and everyone split the money. And he did all the back end work. And he basically said, I'm never doing this again. It was just an absolute nightmare. But they actually hit an Edwards 1 of 1 in it.
Oh, nice.
And if I remember correctly, it sold for way unders. It sold for like 15K. I think it was one of those examples of like, they just sold it at probably the worst possible time. I understand why they had to sell it like the way they did, but
move it in a timely manner.
I think if you're playing the long game, you'd be like, look, let's just hold this bad boy because
for sure,
you possibly could be seeing 10x that back for it. So yeah.
God, you have some rumors
anyway
for that. But yeah, also the time that they were sold. Yeah, these are chalk and cheese. Card ladder, you need to do better.
Nah, look, we can't really hate on them for giving us free content, can we? Can we?
Yeah, we can.
That's a little bit Karen-esque, I think.
Probably unjustified, let's be fair.
Yeah.
But seriously,
all right, let's go
give us a better one.
Let's go to a break, mate, and then we will come back.
Let's do it.
And we will talk a little bit more hobby. Thank you very much to the Hobby Hangout. We're going to start talking about you today. The reason for this is because Sunday, the 1st of June, 2025, be there at 9 Nicholson Street, Carlton, or the Melbourne Royal Exhibition Building, 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Tickets are currently $34.90, free for people under the age of 12. Goldens from America are going to be there. Unconfirmed whether Ken is going to be there or not. But just this week, it's been revealed and or confirmed that Andrew Bogut is going to be there. So
nice.
How I understand this is going to work is you buy a ticket to meet Andrew Bogut, like a meet and greet, and you get a photo with him, and you can also get some stuff signed too. So you can bring
Yeah.
in your memorabilia, you can bring in your cards, and Bogey will sign that for you.
Yeah. So just like
I
going to like a Comic Con or one of those those comic
It
pop culture
sounds very
conventions,
similar to that type of thing,
and you
doesn't it?
meet the
Yeah.
celebrity by buying a ticket. You pay
Yeah.
general entry, but then you buy a specific ticket. You wait in
Yeah.
a line, and then you get called for your photo,
Yeah.
and you get to shake his
So
hand. And yeah,
I don't want Bogut's autograph, but what I'm thinking about doing is buying the meet and greet ticket, and then we can ask him about the segment that he did. Why do you think that every NBA team plays the same? Like,
I like it. I like it.
maybe we could make up like a spreadsheet or sort of a graphical picture to show to him.
We can get like we can get a promo audio clip from him. Now, this is Andrew Bogut, and you're listening to the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast.
You need a bit more Aussie accent and a bit deeper voice, Ed.
Well, I'm not Andrew Bogut. He can do it.
Oh, hey, check this out. Just scrolling down on the different stalls. So this must be like a rotating thing. Matt's Card Shop. There's a beautiful photo there of Matthew Yuga. That's lovely. Nice photo, Matty. We've got Piplup Emporium, Slaw Collectibles, TCG Collectors, heaps and heaps of different activations, trading zones, trading card game tournaments, amazing giveaways, casual play areas. Do not miss this. Sunday, the 1st of June, 2025. For the Hobby Hangout XL. Alrighty. Adam, we're back. How you doing, buddy?
I am very, very good. Excited for the Hobby Hangout.
Yeah. So I didn't get to answer Carl's mailbag question. Can we go back to that?
Yeah, true. We did get sidetracked by Anthony Edwards. That was my answer to the question, yeah?
That's okay. That's totally fine.
Cool. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, so what I was thinking was, while I've been watching these playoffs, I'm quite interested in the Thompson brothers.
Ooh.
I'm really interested. And the thread that I'd like to create here is, can you comp the Thompson brothers to Jaylen Brown? And my argument is this: all of them are supreme athletes, like absolutely supreme. I probably think Eamon is the best athlete out of the three of them. And I think when Jaylen Brown came into the league, the assumption was that he would develop his skills to match his athleticism. And I think even today, there's still some criticism that he can't really dribble with his left hand. But I think that's probably a little bit unfair. And he's definitely improved his dribbling.
His handles, yeah.
His shooting's pretty good. He's definitely making better decisions, dribbling, passing the ball. Dare I even say he can run a little bit of like pick and roll play these days. Like, he's definitely improving as a basketball player. I love players like Jaylen Brown just because they play both ends of the ball and they play hard and they play above the ring. And I sort of love that three-dimensional aspect of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I love guys that play close to the ground. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think that's the other thing about the Thompson brothers. They really changed the game, the way they play on both ends of the floor. I think that's from the Houston series. My really big takeaway. I really feel like he's controlling the game from the defensive end. And there's something like that just speaks to my soul, like when people do that type of stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
I think probably the best thing to do at this point is look at Jaylen Brown prices, because I think this is a little bit of a sobering, maybe a wake-up call for people who are like investing heavy into the Thompson twins at the moment. So Jaylen Brown currently is trading at 260 USD for a silver PSA 10. And I think if you're trying to find pockets of value in the current NBA of veterans, I think this is a really good place to start. For me, this is like criminally undervalued. Population on this is just 305. So, for example, the Edwards card we're talking about, like 2,000 just a couple of minutes ago. You know, my only issue with this, like for example, the Jaylen Brown, is that this could just be a popularity issue, and this might never rectify itself. And that does definitely give me some concerns.
Do you really think he's a 200 to 260 player?
I think he's like a $500 card, honestly.
I think his playing level, dictates a much higher price, for sure.
Yeah. So I really struggle with seeing those prices. And I think that's what I worry about the Thompson twins.
All right. But
I just
are you
think that.
suggesting the Thompson twins are going to end up at that plateau is going to be at that $200 to $300 mark, or
So my feeling about the Thompson twins at the moment is that I think people are buying into them based on raw talent. So
so
so what my
buying into them based on talent, thinking they're going to hit Tatum numbers, but
yeah,
then
or they're going to
realizing
get
they're
to
going to hit
something.
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, so what my argument is if they get to Jaylen Brown's talent level, I think they've done really well. And if you're
Agreed.
drafting a player in the tens and you get Jaylen Brown, you've won the lottery, and
Sure.
you probably should be like scout of the year or general manager of the year, something like that, right?
True.
And so looking at the prices now, so for example, there's a red PSA 10 of Eamon Thompson that's just sold for $142. I mean, yeah, that's a color match. I get that.
Yeah.
There's a Pulsar here for $149.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Mosaic Glitter for $128. This is PSA 10. Now that's really interesting because technically that is a case hit, but you can buy veteran case hits of that for like $2. Like those have not done well in the aftermarket. They're absolutely terrible. I'm just trying to find a silver. I cannot find a silver, but at the same time, this is probably enough to tell me that this is way over in my head what I think it should be in comparison to Jaylen Brown. So, look, I think he's a wonderful player. I love everything that he does, but I just think I'm very reluctant to, be recommending people to, buying heavy into this guy.
For sure.
There is one more card here in the run sheet ad that I want to talk to you about. It's the Prismania. We spoke about this Prismania set last week when we did the Steph Curry breakdown. This is the 2023 Prism Eamon Thompson Prismania PSA 9. Population on this is 4. Yeah. This recently sold for $1,500 USD. Now, I actually like this sale. I'm definitely not criticizing it. Do I think it's a little bit overs? Could you buy something different for this for that same price point? You could buy a Kaboom for this price point. You could get a sneaker spotlight. You could get a downtown. So this is not a small amount of money. No. I think my argument of why the person has bought this card, I think it's the population on it. I think we were speculating on this, that how many is there actually of these cards out here? And we were talking about off air on this ad with like the PMGs. At what point does a card become such a low pop count and it becomes a little bit collectible, and that just pushes the price up? So the card that we were talking about off air was a Tom Gugliotta PSA 9 PMG that sold for $7K. Yeah. So when you sort of put this into, perspective on that, this is a rookie card. This is PSA 9 and just sold for $1,500. Look, this might be I think this is a medium to long-term purchase. You might hope that in, say, 5 years' time, he becomes an all-star and you can flip it out. But honestly, I do suspect a card like this is not a quick flip for me. It's quite a long-term hold. Where are you at with the Prismanias for this kid?
I like them. I think they're going to be a sneaky good set down the track. I don't think they've got enough hype around them.
It could. I mean, look, Panini is not fantastic at advertising their products. In terms of the hype component, could it just be that they're so low pop? You just don't see them that much.
But from downtown, we know about Kaboom. We know about Prismania.
There's a lot of those, though.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe it's the low pop. Maybe the low pop is what's not giving it.
Like, is this actually a genuine low pop case hit?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I like that. I really like those cards. I do have a thought on your little
talk to me
Thompson brothers and Jaylen Brown comparison, because I think there's a parallel there as well.
Yeah.
Now, my first question is, who's the guy on Houston?
I think that's a really good question.
Because I think Thompson is going to be the Jaylen Brown of Houston and be the number 2. If he is a guy, he won't be the guy. He'll be the number 2.
I think the problem with Jalen Green is his inconsistency. I think he's got the high-end talent, but he's got it 1 in every 4 games at the moment. I think he's fine, but is he better off as a facilitator instead of a go-to scorer?
So it's Van Vliet.
I don't like Van Vliet.
I don't think Van Vliet's
I think he's a really good role player, but
guy. It's Green in my eyes. It's Green or Şengün with Thompson playing second fiddle to one of them, kind of thing. That's his cat. I feel like he won't be the guy. To follow that on, go to Detroit. Cade's the guy.
Yeah.
There's no argument. Cade's the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Thompson's ceiling there, second fiddle to Cade. Jaylen Brown, being even he's that year older, like than Tatum. He's the guy. Tatum's the guy, and he will be the guy until forever.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown may have won the Finals MVP, but Tatum's the guy.
Oh,
Tatum is the guy, no matter what. Which, as far as the ceiling where these guys card-wise go, it's a very good parallel and comparison. I just think
Tatum was the MVP anyway. Like, it's a bit of a nonsense.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm saying, but Brown and the Thompson brothers sit in that second fiddle, a really good one.
Yeah.
But that's where they sit.
I think there's an argument to be made too that Houston has to bring in more talent. Like, there's always an NBA player that comes up on the market.
So Houston, one of two things need to happen in Houston. Şengün or Green need to become the guy.
Yeah, definitely.
They need to take that leap.
That would be fantastic.
Or they need to bring someone in.
Or the Phoenix Suns panic, unload Devin Booker for Jalen Green and some parts.
KD's the one that's on the move, but Beal might be pickable off waivers though.
Yeah, you could claim him for nothing. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, like, and it's an interesting comp. I like it a lot.
Now we're talking about fake trades. Can we talk about... I'm completely just messing you up tonight when it comes to the run sheet. Click on the link that says Trade Machine. We can talk about your beloved Lakers for a second here.
I really want to bring up this
So
series
last
again.
week you put me on the spot and
Yeah.
I had to quickly build a trade, which I did. I had Giannis for KD. Now, if the rumors and the Twitter idiots are correct, Giannis is on the move to the Lakers, and this actually works. This took me a while to actually pan out. Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith, Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect. There's going to be some draft equity thrown in, absolutely. There's no way they're getting two superstars for like only 2 first-round picks. This has to be like 2 picks and 2 swaps, or 1 pick and 3 swaps. I think at least 4 firsts have to be exchanged here to the Bucks, and then Giannis coming back. The salaries are almost perfectly matched for that. So, how do you feel about this?
No, it's not happening.
You wouldn't do it?
No. The problem this year wasn't we didn't have enough superstars. We didn't have enough pieces. Why would you give away all the pieces? We just need more pieces.
You don't think Giannis and Luka would be pretty sweet together?
I want to know what centers are available.
Jackson Hayes is available.
It wasn't against Minnesota because he was anyway.
Brooke Lopez is going to be on the move. That's actually confirmed.
I actually think Brooke Lopez is a candidate for coming off the bench as a big in LA.
Yeah.
Again, he did a stint in LA. But they need a big. They need AD again. And that's not happening because he's signed for a while. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm as much as I would love Giannis in LA. Why don't we just wait and get Jokic? That's a good idea. Yeah, wait till Jokic is unhappy in Denver, and then Luka and Jokic can get together in LA and win us some championships. It'll be fine.
Yep. Alrighty, let's do this one really quickly. This is from GTI_card supply. So please go to Instagram and follow them. Go to their feed or their timeline, whatever it's called. Go to April the 26th. You'll see a video of the team at GTI opening up. So one of the content consistencies, what you'll see them doing a lot on their feed, is opening up slabs. Taking the cards out and then putting them into these lovely GTI...
The pretty ones.
One touches.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to open up this rare case, and it was absolutely... I think if you ran this over with a car, the card would still be protected in it. And I think what he was talking about as the feed was going on was just the difference between opening a PSA slab, which for him is just child's play now. He just gets out his little pliers, opens it up in 2 seconds.
It's second nature, isn't it? The way he cracks those slabs.
He makes it look easy, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm actually really reluctant to open up a PSA case, but now I've watched some of his videos, I'm actually leaning towards maybe I could do it.
The PSA ones. You just like clip,
Yeah.
clip, clip. It's just like, you know, those weird packs you get in the supermarket where they've got it's like they're melted in, but once you get the exterior, you clip that bit. They're easy. They
I
just
just
pop
think
open.
I just think professionals make things look easy though. It's like watching players play basketball. You're like, oh, it's really not that hard. You get out and try and do it yourself. Actually,
There's
it's
a PSA.
bloody hard, man. Anyway,
Yeah, I reckon
this
I
rare
know.
case is incredibly well encapsulated. You have to give them some credit on that.
Yeah.
Rare is a new company that's coming into the market. They do a bunch of stuff. They offer a scan on the back of it, which will tell you information about the card. It'll also tell you about the grading process that it went through. Look, I think they're going to be another flash in the pan, but PSA could absolutely learn from their encapsulation process. I think it's one of the better ones
What
on the
is that
market.
crap inside the case?
It's glue.
Mm.
It's glue.
Mm.
Yep. This is the perfect time to segue. Thank you very much to GTI International. Thank you so much for your support of our show. We are honored that you would like to support us. Go to gametimeinternational.com. There you will find a website where you can purchase one touches, penny sleeves, top loaders, team bags. Now, the main thing that we want to talk about on this show is their magnetics, the absolutely fantastic quality of them. Also, too, they have a capability to have your cards in a penny sleeve so that the surface is also protected, stops the cards from moving around, and they're absolutely perfectly designed and made so that when they come out of the packaging, the surface is absolutely flawless. So when you're looking at your cards, it's the most aesthetically pleasing way possible. So that's absolutely one of their selling points of what they like to do. Again, going back to their content, cracking cards out of PSA slabs that don't look that fantastic, and then putting them into these flawless one touches. So please go to gametimeinternational.com and make your order for your PC needs. Alrighty, Adam, we are back. How are you doing?
We're back. I'm good.
All right, let's try and get back to the run sheet.
Which part of the run sheet?
So let's go to Murray versus Harden.
Murray versus Harden. Is this where we're going to start talking about the Denver series, which I think concluded?
We should quickly recap that. I don't think we should spend a bunch of time on this just because you can go to ESPN and watch much better content about recapping games than us.
Yeah, for sure.
But basically, if you do have time to sit down and watch 7 games, it's not the worst allocation of your time to do that. It was actually a very good series.
Pretty good 7-game series, not going to lie.
NBA.com now has fantastic recaps and also the total game possessions where you can get through a game in 40 minutes. That absolutely speaks to my soul. Fantastic way to...
Yep, consume it.
Look, I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit disappointed the way that Game 7 played out. I was sort of hoping for an absolute classic, but I've got my fingers crossed for Golden State Houston. I'm really hoping for a Game 7 classic for this.
That's going to be a very interesting game because that's in Houston, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Game 7, Warriors are going to blow another 3-1 lead if they lose. They're going to be the team that blows 3-1 leads.
Look, if that's what happens, in my opinion, the Rockets have earned it and they deserved it. If they win, I'm just happy for Steph Curry. But I think my takeaway of this, no matter what happens, is we're really seeing the changing of the guard here. And as much as it hurts me to say it, Steph Curry isn't who he used to be.
No, he's not. He's old.
Yeah.
Older.
And I think I've actually really been slow to come around to that realization too, because I think I was sort of blaming Klay Thompson a bit. I was blaming Kuminga not emerging. I was blaming Draymond Green just getting like 2 steps slower and then actually not realizing that Curry's part of it too.
Realizing that in 2025, Steph Curry's not 2015 Steph Curry.
No, but it's just hard if someone's getting 30 points a game to go, oh, they're not as good as they used to be. Like that's such, like for me, a difficult thing to get my head around.
I mean, we can go back a series and talk about that LeBron at 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's not going to, the chase down block stuff from from 10 years ago isn't
Yeah.
what you're going to get out of LeBron.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to give it his all, but he's 10
He's
years
40.
older. Yeah, he's 40 years
Yeah.
old. He's not
Yeah.
30.
He's amazing, by the way, too. I think anyone who's doing that at 40
Yeah.
is just insane.
I mean,
All right,
and
anyway.
Steph Curry's in his mid-30s, so we're not...
Yeah.
They're not spring chickens.
No, they're not. They're not. Anyway, I'm just a bit slow. That's really what I'm getting to here. 2016 National Treasures Jamal Murray rookie patch autograph number to 10,
Yep.
or a BGS 9.
Gold refractor?
Yeah, of
Top
James
refractor,
Harden.
yeah.
So, look, both of these, this is a really tough one for me because I like both of these cards and I like both of these players.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking the Murray.
I think I have to say the same thing too, but at the same time...
I'm not a Harden fan. Like, I've got a bit more respect for the guy, but...
But a gold refractor to 50, that's a...
What? This
Yeah,
is
that's
an
an
RPA to
insane
10.
card. The funny thing about the RPAs though is most people collect the vertical to 99. That's the collectible one. It's
I'll
a
take that
really,
one.
it's a stupid like thing, but yeah, you're right. Let's just be the common sense here.
Like, yeah.
Look, yeah.
Yeah. No, like, props to James Harden. $5.5 grand for that's understandable.
I just wonder if that long term is going to be a little bit undervalued, like moving forward, because I think
the grade comes in more into place with the Harden than it does the Murray. I don't think
Yeah,
the
but just
grade
with-
is relevant with the
with
Murray.
his MVP and his sort of general resume, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
If you're picking up a gold refracted to 50 for 5.5, I think that's a really good pickup. Whereas this Murray, I'm not too sure how much that's really going to go up too much more. Like, even though he's a champ and he's a great player, but
Was it game 3 or 4 that playoff Murray decided to
Yeah.
bubble Murray came back?
yeah, it's just he's just one of those guys where he's just not that collected. I think that's also what
Yeah.
it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if the Nuggets win a couple of more championships, be on the radar.
All
Lives
right,
in
I would-
Jokic's shadow. FYI.
I want to look at his silver prism because this is the one that I have a lot more headspace around. Okay, this is insane. So silver PSA 10 population on this is 206. It last sold for $156. Holy crap! So all time that sold for 1,600 at its peak. That's down 10x.
That went crazy in 2020, 21.
I actually think that's a really good buy.
$150.
So you're
Yeah.
telling me, so people are buying colored Eamon Thompsons for more than a silver Jamal Murray.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense. Either the Thompson brothers are overs or this silver is unders. Could be both.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, let's move on. Michael Jordan sale. We can't have a show without an MJ.
An
We
MJ.
went from never talking about MJ to almost talking about him every second week or so now.
Regularly.
I'm proud of myself for this like development we've had.
The resurgence of talking about MJ.
Yeah, we're just talking about him at all. Like we just never used to do it.
Be like Mike.
Absolutely. Alrighty, we can do this quick. PSA 10, 1986, Michael Jordan.
That's the
This sold
second
for
most
three-
popular one.
Yeah, this sold for 348K. Why is this significant? The pricing on this has been all over the place. So I think the significance of this sale is obviously the total dollar amount, but it's also to,
Steady?
yeah, the fact that it's come back a little bit.
It's been, yeah.
And then also to, I think what we should talk about is try and find what is the population on this card, because I think that's very relevant at this point. I don't see any population numbers on this. I'm just going to really quickly go to card ladder
Yeah, I'm with you.
and find the PSA 10 pop. It's 332. So it is quite low. Yeah, looking at that sale, that's up significantly. So the sale before that was 200.
Yeah. Well,
So
this is interesting, right? In the last 2 years, this is the highest sale.
Yep.
The next highest in the last 2 years was a year ago for 292.
Look, I think for an iconic card in PSA 10, and we're looking at the sales what we've had the last couple of years. I know I'm just sort of in my own echo chamber at this point, but if we did say that COVID was the time to sell, like, how is this not now the time to buy?
This is the best price it's gone for since the 8th of January 2022.
Yeah,
So,
particularly on these like specific high-end cards. Like, I'm not saying go out and buy everything willy-nilly,
no,
but I
not
think
at all. Not at all.
but I think if you're making very calculated purchases at the moment, I think you're going to do very well out of them. And I think we should keep a bit of an eye on this. Look, the next sale on this could be down a little bit, but I think long term, I think that is going to be an absolute home run. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's an iconic card.
All right. Michael Jordan. Kobe and Jordan, 1 of 1. Okay, so we're going back to back with Jordans here, but it's okay.
That's nice.
This is from a guy who I used to love his content all the time. He sold his account, and whether the content has gone down or I'm just not paying attention anymore.
I would say there's a level of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
Anyway.
talked about this previously, this card, a while
Have
ago.
we?
Yeah, it might have surfaced before. I don't think it's the same time we're talking about it, but yeah.
Yeah. So we can skip over it or just do it really quickly.
let's do it really
1 of
quickly,
1,
yeah.
Jordan, Kobe, exquisite. Both of them are Logoman patches. Yeah. So it's hitting the.
Yeah. Last year, the collector revealed he offered $8 million for the card in 2022, but he in the
So
end-
Shine did.
Yeah.
So it's on Heritage. So maybe actually what we could do is follow this up and actually find out what it sold for, because I think that would be
April 9. All right. How long's the auction go for? A month?
auctions. Jordan.
Whoa. What is it? What's the card? Exquisite. All right, there it is. God.
I can't find it.
I've got it. Auction preview. Hang on. All right, there we go. Auction preview. Preview items may not have yet been properly described or verified. Yeah. So this is a preview.
So it's not up yet.
No, but this is the card. PSA 6.
$6 million and up.
I'll send you what I've got.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'll restart the recording. Okay.
Yep.
Alrighty, we're back. So Adam very quickly found it, and it looks like it's on Heritage Auctions.
But it's a preview. It's not.
And the deadline for the auction is July the 2nd. They're estimating that it's going to be bid $6 million and up.
Yeah.
And looking at the lads from Sports Cards Nonsense who commented on the Twitter, they were guessing 20 million.
That's a pretty insane guess.
I mean,
really?
A Jordan and Kobe Logoman. So we have to put this into our calendars and have like an auto reminder to tell us to follow this up. All right, let's move on because we're just purely speculating at this point.
Yeah.
Wemby Kaboom last sold for $53,680.
A
Now,
Wemby
this is obviously
Kaboom.
post-injury. So obviously we are having a lot of Wemby.
Withdrawals?
No, I was going to say, like, the Wemby market really hasn't cooled off.
It's just stayed there. Is it plateaued?
Yeah. So I think for me, this is incredibly warming is the correct word. I think this is fantastic for the hobby. This is another example of how, well the hobby is actually doing.
Yeah.
And I think we should remember this as a card that is absolutely collectible, and I think long-term has collectability. Do I think this is a gamble? Absolutely, I do, particularly it's PSA 7.
Mm-hmm.
But again, low pop, highly collectible. That the grading, of course, it matters, but it matters less when you're going for these absolute monster cards. It's more about the card instead of the grade, which is, that's the hobby dream, isn't it, really? Alrighty, let's look at his card value on Card Ladder. Silver PSA 10, all-time value. He is down 71%. So his all-time high was 2,500. He's currently trading at the $730 mark. So $200 less than Ant-Man at the moment. Population is 4,400.
Do you think a 3-month check is worth it? I reckon 3 months.
Yeah, let's do a 3-month check.
3 months,
Yeah.
he's down 12%.
I think that's fine.
I think that's just natural regression because he hasn't been relevant in the league. Do you know
He
what
got
I mean?
injured.
Yeah, no. But I mean, we're in the playoffs. We're looking at playoff Murray. We're looking at Anthony Edwards. We're looking at Tatum. We're looking at. Do you know what I mean? SGA. Because you're not in the spotlight, you're naturally going to fade. I think, especially as a current day player.
I think going into the off season, he might go down another 10%.
Yeah, that's fair. I reckon.
And that's a natural down cycle that the NBA experiences. So if you're saying to me now, okay, he's already gone 10%, he's going to go down another 10, that's 20% down.
I'm not panicking though.
That is actually juicy for me.
I don't know about juicy yet. I mean, drops below 6 or 500, then you start thinking.
All right. Well, if it goes down another 10%, that will be into the sixes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Last thoughts on this Wemby Kaboom. Good or bad purchase for you? Yeah.
Oh, risky purchase. It's still a Kaboom, but yeah, I'd say risky. But it's a gold. It's gold to 10, right?
I think this is less risky than a silver PSA 10 because of the pop. Like that pop is getting.
It's funny. You'd rather spend
like wild and crazy guy stuff. Yeah.
Than $800, but yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah, I don't have the 50K to.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
I think this long term will be a.
Yeah.
I mean,
a much better purchase.
If a precious metal gem Tom Gugliotta is selling for
7,000. Yeah.
I can't imagine Victor Wembanyama gold Kaboom devaluing too much down the track. Yeah.
Alrighty, we're going to go to our last break of the day, and it is going to be to the lads at Fast Break Trading Cards. As always, lads, thank you so much for your ongoing support. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. Go to fastbreaktradingcards.com. You'll find their website there. Sports trading cards, tops, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, Formula One, tennis, UFC, WWE. I think what we should do today is go to their pre-order section and have a look at what they've got. Alrighty, here we go. 24-25 Tops Chrome UEFA Club Competition Soccer Value Box for $60.
Mm-hmm.
Tops Competition UEFA Jumbo Box for $800. They've got the Juventus team set for $175. Alrighty, baseball is in. So we got Topps Bowman Baseball Value Box for $65.
Yeah.
Topps Bowman Baseball Hobby Box for $600. These are all in AUD, just by the way, for our international listeners. We got Magic the Gathering Collector Booster Box for $7.95. I've got no idea if that's good value or not. We'll have to get Al's opinion on that. And let's pick out one more, and then we'll tidy up here. All right, I've clicked.
Topps Royalty Tennis Hobby Box for $775.
I've got no idea about that.
That's tennis.
That could be the. That could be the best price on earth. That could be the worst. I don't really follow tennis at all, to be
I'm
honest.
just like, it's tennis. They've got racket cards. I kid you not.
But I'm
Autograph
looking at this
relics.
ad. This looks something like National Treasures or Flawless. So these are,
Yeah.
high-end patch booklets,
Yeah.
mem cards.
Booklets. Oh, I remember booklets. They were annoying, actually.
Anyway.
But tennis. Anyway.
Thank you to the lads at Fast Break Trading Cards. We really appreciate all of your support. And we will be right back. Did you put the time in already?
No.
54:05?
Did you put it in?
Oh, that must be from last week. I'll probably scroll down a little bit. There we go. 53:48.
That was
All right.
last week, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're back. Adam, this is our final segment of today. We are going to do some local organic art cards here. So please, everybody,
Hang on.
this is not a sponsored segment. This is a listener. This is someone that I've come to know in the hobby. Go to Instagram. Go to Marie
I
Moore.
think we did this one last week.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's scrub that out. Let's start again. 50. So what are we doing next? Alexa?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we did. We talked about her and
Okay.
yeah.
All right, great. All right, Ad, we're back. This is our final segment of today. Let's talk some Alexa Prism Black 1 of 1. Are you ready for this?
I'm very ready.
Born ready. All right. So this fits into my narrative of the hobby is not dead. For me, Alexa is a very mid prospect. And he's a Washington Wizard. And he's a big guy. He's not particularly that exciting offensively. I would say he's a reasonable rebounder and he's a developing defender. Okay. Yet his Black 1 of 1 just sold for $29,000 in a PSA 9. So I think, for all the people, and you hear a lot of negativity going around the place, I think for me, this is just the absolute reminder, the reinforcer that there is still a lot of optimism
in the hobby.
Yeah. And I think there's also a lot of hardcore collectors out there. Obviously, there's more than one person bidding on this. That's the other thing that really brings to me.
That people are bidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, where do I sit on cards like this? Look, I think that if this fits into your PC and you really want it, I think hats off to you. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. But I think where I sort of lie into this is like, what could I have bought instead? And I think where I'm really, my head is going to these days is trying to think more in terms of the all-time perspective of the NBA. So for me at the moment, it's Kobe Bryant autographs.
Yeah, for sure.
How can you justify buying an Alexa when you could buy, say,
Kobe
4 or 5 Kobe autographs?
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. And
we've seen a really big spike in Kobe autos, and I think it might peter off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think I think we're just seeing the beginning of what Kobe autographs are going to be looking like over the next few years. So, look, this is a really tricky one for me. This is a sell. I don't think this is a buy or a hold. This is just like, if I hit this in a break, I send it off to a consignment service and just send it off and sell it, honestly.
For sure.
Yeah. Tricky one. Where are you at with Alexa?
I don't know. I think the jury's out. I think it's a bold purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many other things you could do. I could buy 10 Nikola Jokic rookies. Come on, raise the bar. Why are people? You never know. This guy might be the next Nikola Jokic. I doubt it. But it's people trying to get in early, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, that could be a $2 million card if he becomes the next Nikola Jokic. Once again, I don't think he will be.
Yeah. That's a tough one. All right. Now, this next one, I don't really want to go into this in terms of like a popcorn activity.
Okay.
I more just want to talk about this pretty high level. And I
Mm.
want to talk about this in terms of how the hobby can be sometimes. Okay. So I'm just going to summarize this to the best of my ability. And if I get some facts wrong, I do apologize. But I also want to summarize it without going into every single small detail. So there was a trade that happened on Veriswap, and it was
Yep.
a reasonably large trade. I think it was around a 20K trade that happened and went down. So
Okay.
it was a very large trade. And then the parcel turned up empty at the other end of the trade. What turned out had happened, there was no insurance applied to the postage when it was shipped off. So then the liability came back to Veriswap. But when this was communicated by the member to Veriswap, there was alleged radio silence. And it wasn't until other members spoke up and they were listed onto the scammers website. There's a huge American scammers website.
Mm-hmm.
Until it was listed onto that, a response from Veriswap wasn't received. And once it was then received, they actually did make the gentleman whole and compensate him for it. And so I think what I want to say about this is that it's really interesting for me because even a massive platform, like use eBay as an example, use Goldens as an example, it's really difficult to find a platform that doesn't have any warts or hasn't got any like bad history.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really interesting for me to see something like Veriswap, which I think it's a relative startup in the industry, and it's not fair to call them small, but they're an emerging platform.
Yeah.
They were basically built around a huge hole in the hobby where it was impossible for people to trade cards with any type of security, and essentially they're stepping in and acting as a middleman. So for them to sort of create this thing for the hobby, and look, they're making money out of it, and there's nothing wrong with people making money. Like I think they come up with a good idea and they're working hard, all that stuff. That's not my issue, but I think if you are charging fees for it and you're not taking care of your business, I think there's a bit of a problem with that. I think the communication part is really interesting because at the end of the day, they solved the problem and they shouldn't be on scammers for it, but obviously they're now on scammers and it won't be removed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, by the way, I don't think this is a scam. I just think the communication was really poor. But it's also around timelines. I think people's expectations these days are instant gratification, instant resolution. And I'm like that myself sometimes. Like I contacted Netflix recently and they told me it was going to be a 3-day turnaround. I was like losing my shit. It's like at the time you're like 3 days. I want to watch my show now. Like, and so I understand why people like have a sense of urgency. Like that's totally fine. But I think also too, sometimes you do have to, give people time to investigate on their end actually what happened. Is there fraud happening on the opposite end? Like, it's fine to point out that someone has made an error, but at the same time too, it doesn't mean they're going to compensate you within 12 hours, 24 hours. And so I think you do have to give people some sort of leeway. People that are now disagree with my opinion on this, and that's totally fine. And by the way, I've had no communication with Raymond on this. I'm not some Raymond simp. I'm just trying to paint both sides of the story here. And so,
well, apparently, based on this, you wouldn't have been able to speak to him. He doesn't respond to anybody.
Well, I did message him to ask him to come back onto the show. He didn't reply. So yes,
Funny
we do fit into that profile there from Ray. So look, so I think at the end of the day of this, I'm going to put this into the Cherry Collectibles thing. They have just had an app. They've had thousands of clicks come onto their site because of this. I think they're going to be fine. I think that this is a very small blip on their radar in terms of their productivity. And look, at the end of the day, they actually might improve their service out of this. I think if they're smart, they improve their service out of this, and they do some type of calculation and say, is it worth us paying for insurance, or do we every now and then just cough it up and cover it that way? And so they need to do the numbers on that, and that's on their end. But yeah, look, I mean, remember when Cherry Collectibles was flaunting around everyone's Luca rookies that they hadn't posted out to them from breaks, and there was that huge thing that actually just boosted up their popularity. And so You know,
For
I'm
me.
sure there's going to be some members from Verisop that are going to leave, but
Yeah, that's true.
people can leave and also come back to a service.
That's a good point.
We've all been petulant at some point in our life and, you know, done a rage quit, right? Like, it doesn't mean you're not going to come crawling back. So, but what's your thoughts on this?
Look, I don't know. I think when you start a big business,
Yeah.
when I say big business, it could be relative to what you do. But once you go public and have a platform and you make assurances to your public,
Yeah.
things like I wasn't reachable, I'm on holiday, and I didn't respond. Not being non-responsive is unacceptable. You should have a team in place that respond to queries.
That's right. There should be some type of escalation plan. Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't just be a dude in your basement that's the only one that responds.
And even if that response is, thank you for your message, we will get back to you in 5 business days.
Acknowledgement. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it lacks a lot of professional courtesy, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned here.
Yeah. It's super frustrating, by the way. And yeah, that you're 100% right. I could have portrayed that better. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just think once you take that step from being someone that's dabbling in buying, selling, helping with transactions, to providing a service and launching a platform, you should be ready for that.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between, I mean, you could compare it to someone that's got a table at a trade show transitioning to becoming a business. Like a proper, like, there's a big difference between the way, I don't know, Cherry, Fast Break, shops like that operated at a trade show versus Joe Blow, who's got just his collection there selling.
Yeah.
There's an expectation. You're a business. You're actually like an author. You're an authority in the space.
Yeah.
You can't behave like an individual.
Yeah. I think maybe that's also part of the anger too, is that you go to these places, you pay the fees, which can be considered high.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you're paying for a service, right?
That's right. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, Raymond's a really smart dude. I think he's come up with a fantastic product. You know, I think this will just be a little bit of, you know, egg on their faces, and they'll move on from this really well.
So, I think rather than justifying and defending, the focus needs to be rectifying and making a better product.
Well, he was on Jeff Wilson's show this week, so obviously he's moving up and up onto bigger and better things.
Well, he's with Jeff Wilson. He's picked the right path, hasn't he?
So they did a like a YouTube live video. They were showing the cards the trades that had been on their platform, and then breaking them down.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually it was pretty good.
Cool.
Similar to what we do with card versus card on Card Letter, but they were doing it like on the Veriswap stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's finish the show on a good note. I want to talk about the Thunder picks this year. The Thunder will have the number 15 pick from Miami via the Clippers, the number 24 pick swap with the Clippers, and a 36% chance of the 7-8 pick from Philly. And also potentially the NBA champions. This doesn't make you happy, does it?
Enough said about the Thunder. Found my new team.
Yeah.
I'm on board. No, I'm not leaving my purple and gold.
That's amazing, honestly. Hats off to them.
There are some teams that just know how to do it right.
Yeah. They've nailed it.
Yeah.
Thanks for a great show, Ad. Thank you at home, everybody, for listening. Our fans in Germany, Philippines, Canada, New Zealand,
The US,
Australia. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for Home and Abroad. Thank you to our friends at Central Coast Radio. And Adam, thank you again for your time.
Thanks for another good show, Russell.
Have a great week.
We'll see you next week.